How was the process of changing the Dreamlanders into more celebrities and more connotated actors like Johnny Depp? Or
I still use Mink Stoles in all my movies. Mary Vivian Pierce's, they're dead. I can't use them. I'm not that much of a cult director. I can raise them from the dead. I liked using them, and then we started first with Tab Hunter, and then we kept going. And Mink, they liked working with them. You know, it just made the movies more professional, and it made them more popular, and it made us get the budgets to make them, you know? So that was never an issue. Divine loved working with Tab Hunter. Divine loved working with Debbie Harry and everything. So none of the people that were working with me were ever against that. They always were excited about Divine. The first day he had to dance with Tab Hunter, he thought, I can't believe this is ever happening. Yeah, so it was always a fairly easy process. And when Divine died, I thought, what am I going to do? So I hired Johnny Depp. He couldn't have anybody pretty opposite of Divine in a way, but a great star that wanted to make fun of his own image that he had at the time. So I went on with Johnny, and then I've worked with a lot of actors that went on to be big, like Maggie Gyllenhaal and Mike Shannon and Adrian Grenier were all in Cecil B. Demented, and they were fairly unknown at the time. So I think Pat Moran, who cast all my movies, she did The Wire. She's won a lot of Emmys. Vince Perennia, who did all the production design, went on to do millions of movies and TV shows. So a lot of the people that worked with me in the beginning went on and had their own careers in show business too. And others didn't, but I'm still friendly with them. Even the guy with the singing asshole, he comes to my Christmas party every year. He's 55 years old, and he said, the muscles ain't what they used to be. He's straight, totally. His wife comes and she just rolls her eyes every time he starts talking about it. People say, who's that? That's the singing asshole. And he told me that he used to go when the movie came out for the 25th anniversary and it played in regular movie theaters. He would go to a matinee, there'd be like 8 people. And when his theme would come on, he'd tap somebody and go, that's me. Which is terrorism. It's asshole terrorism, basically. It's sexual terrorism. Yeah.
And the thing about your movies also is that they're very particularly developed in terms of image. The collaborations of Van Smith and Vince Perenio, how would you collaborate with them? They were throwing their own ideas,
They did, but Van Smith, he knew what I liked. And Chris Mason, also very important, who did all the hairdos in all the movies up to... Probably she died. Did she do Serial Mom? I think she did. But up to then. But they all knew the look I wanted, and we talked about it. You know, they would show me drawings and auditions and all, but they knew what I liked. And Van, you know, even with Divine in the beginning, I said, just do something weird with that hairline, you know, do something. So he shaved it back like that. And Van really thought up Divine's look completely. Nobody could do it as good as Van. Even later when Divine toured and Van couldn't go on the tour, he kind of hated it. It never looked as good as when Van did it. Not only did he think it up, he did it. He drew it on and everything. And he did all the costumes and everything. And same with Vincent, you know, who just really sold his whole archive to Yale University of all his drawings and everything. So I'm really happy about that. So maybe I'm not supposed to tell that yet. But anyway, so off the record. But you know, they did go on to have their own careers and everything. And Mink works a lot all the time. Mink's a good singer. I'm still really good friends with Mink. I took LSD with Mink, you know, for my new book. At 70 years old, we haven't taken LSD for 50 years, and we took it together. It was great. You know, I never have to do it again, but I recommended it, not to young people, just to old people that haven't done it in 50 years and had good trips when they were young and just want a little cleaning out, you know? Get those cobwebs out. Yeah.
And Mink Stoll is right now in the play that Divine
She's doing a play in Los Angeles with Tracy Lords is in it too.
Yes.
And a lot of RuPaul winners, I think, are in it too. And it's called Women Behind Bars, which was a jail play that Divine did.
The one that Divine was making when they
yes.
were living.
I think he was making that one or Neon Woman. There was another one he did, I forget which.
By the same writer. No?
Yeah.
And how was was there not a breakup thing when she couldn't, like, when he couldn't say, like, I will go to this movie I have to go to.
No, we didn't get mad. There were arguments later. Divine had some managers I didn't get along with, and certainly it was always about money in a way. Like when we made Hairspray, you know, where like some of Sonny Bono would get a huge salary, and Divine, the distributors wouldn't pay quite as much. They eventually did, but there was arguments always about that. And Divine kind of wanted to get away from me, which I understood, because I only made a movie every once or 3 or 4 years. He had to make other work. So he, I think, resented it when critics would say, oh, he can only work with John Waters and stuff like that. And I understood that. I understood that it was great when he made other movies, and he liked doing it too. But at the end, we were very, very close. I remember the last Hairspray had just come out. He got great reviews for the first time ever, and he was about ready to go on and be on Married with Children, this TV show. So it ended in a very, very happy way, but I'm still shocked he's dead. You know, he was 43, 44 years old. Friend, that's the age of my friend's children now. You know, really too young to die, definitely.
And at the high peak, because he was making his first serious role, because
and
he was a woman, but a serious woman.
And he also played a man in the movie.
Yeah.
And Divine lived as a man. Divine didn't want to be a woman. It's too hot. I'm a fat person. I'm not wearing all those wigs and those lentil bras. It's too hot. And he was so heavy, he always broke the high heels. We had to get ones that were made out of steel that he could wear. And they were very uncomfortable, because they just snap right under him, any high heel.
And we're celebrating like your filmography here in Tonalá, because it was really, really influential. And who do you think is carrying this flag of new directors that are going against like the establishment?
I don't know that anybody's carrying my flag, but certainly Pedro Almodovar, I think, is the best of all directors. And to me, he writes beautiful parts for everybody. I think Todd Solondz, I think there's so many directors I love. They're all European usually, like Bruno Dumont, I'm a fan of. Gaspar Noé, Lars von Trier. I mean, there's a lot of ones that Harmony Korine. I mean, I think there's a lot of filmmakers today that are making really strong movies. I don't think they're like mine. Usually, whenever a critic says, oh, it's like a very John Waters-esque movie, I usually hate those movies, because that just means they're gross, or there's a drag queen in it, or somebody pukes on somebody, you know. And to me, Hollywood makes a lot of really unfunny, gross-out comedies now. So I think, unfortunately, I've influenced that. Yeah.
In now the business of cinema right now, how do you see it? How do you expect it to change? Do you think it's going on a good path, or we are going?
Well, everybody has to
backwards?
figure it out with Netflix and everything. But I'm all for it, because it's just someone else that can say yes to a movie idea. It got down to the point. For independent cinema, there used to be 20 places I could go pitch. If I was going to pitch a movie now, there'd be 4 maybe that would do it. So it's much harder to get them made, and they all want them made much cheaper than they used to be. And so that's a harder thing. So I think I'm all for any of them. Is it going to change how people see movies? I don't think it's ever going to. Movies aren't going to go out of business. They're going to have to adapt with this, how they had to adapt with television, how we had to adapt with video coming out. There's so many things that have happened through the years, but this is still just a new way for people to see more movies. And television now is better than it ever is, in America at least, you know? So that's a whole different route too. I do a TV show easy now. More people see it, it pays better. I'm not against television. No, it used to be if you worked on movies, you would never do television, but now TV's better sometimes. Yeah.
And when you think about what you've accomplished, and your career has not been easy, because it's a process of getting rejected, of going back, of having bad reviews.
Nobody's career is easy in show business.
But yours
it's a
was
life
like
of
brutal,
rejection.
because every review was like reveling on destroying you.
No, they didn't destroy me. When you're young, bad reviews don't hurt. You're just glad they noticed. Bad reviews hurt when you're old. Because then you thought, how dare they, you know?
And your books have been very well reviewed, so it's okay.
Well, I've gotten every kind of review, believe me. And I always say you read the good ones twice, the bad ones once, and then you put them all away and never look at them again. But you remember the bad ones.
Yeah. I love that review of Pauline Kael about Fellini's Satiricon.
She said it was his Mondo Trasher. I don't know that she ever saw Mondo Trasher, but she knew the name, which was a good break for me at the time, that Pauline Kael referenced Mondo Trasher, yeah.
And how do you see your, what projects do you have in mind? Do you want to keep writing? Do you want to keep striving for?
I don't think I'd spend the time right now to think up a whole new movie, since I had Fruitcake, I had the sequel to Hairspray, and they didn't get made. I'm writing this novel. After this, I would probably, I'm not going to stop and try to get a movie made. If those get made, maybe. But I'll write another book. Yeah. It's
Forever.
just me
You're going to be a
upstairs.
writer,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I'm still going to be a writer either way. I'm going to have to think up a movie, which to start from scratch and think up a movie takes 6 months until I can go pitch the movie. Because when I pitch it, I know the whole story. Because that's how I got the deals. You have to know the whole story. I have an ad campaign. I go in. I'm an old school exploiter. I pretend. I give them an ad campaign. How you think you should sell it? Just because that's their job. Is to make money. It's called show business. It's not called show art.
And are you still fashion buff?
Well, am I a fashion buff? I wear ludicrous outfits.
But you were
I think when
really
you're young, you should never spend 1 penny on fashion. You should go to the worst thrift shop and buy the one thing that they couldn't sell for a nickel and wear it, and you will start a new fashion. But at my age, you need all the help you can get. Yeah. So I spend a lot of money to look like I got lucky in a thrift shop. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you went to Edith Macy's thrift shop?
I did go to her thrift shop, yeah. And her thrift shop was just stuff that people gave her, which was great. And people would forget they'd take off their sweater to try someone. She'd sell the sweater. And then she'd say, you have to watch your stuff in here,
Besides Divine, which was your actor that you wrote character?
Well, I wrote him for Mink too a lot, and for Mary Vivian Pierce. In the beginning, I wrote characters for all the people up until probably Hairspray, and then from then on, I did not, because I thought, who's going to play it? And you never can count on somebody for playing it. So, but even when I wrote the later Hollywood movies, I always had in mind someone that I thought could play the role. I was picturing that person. Kathleen Turner was one of them, certainly later Stephen Dorff. I mean, you picture people, but they don't always work out. Roseanne once was going to be Serial Mom, so you never know, and she was a Lipple then, so who knows?
And there's a story that I'm very interested in, that in Roman Candles you had a leading actress called Malcolm Soul.
Malcolm Soul. She was my first star.
She was like, you had all your expectations put on that actress.
Well, she was a beatnik goddess in Baltimore, and she had maroon hair, which no one had ever heard of anything like that. She dyed it that color. She wore chalk white makeup. At all times, false bottom and top eyelashes, a huge star painted on her face, divine kind of makeup. But she looked like that every single day. People ran from her on the street screaming when they saw her. And she was even scared us. She was great, so we were all idolized her. And even Divine was scared of her. So she was the first star kind of that was in my movies, but they were such home movies that they never were shown in any commercial kind of way at all, really.
And she tragically died after that.
She died when she was 27, of old age, I think.
And in the course of these years, you have an encounter with art besides film, besides
writing. Yeah, that's
writing.
a whole other thing. A whole other thing I kept very separate from my art career, from my movie career. Yeah, I've had two retrospectives. I just had a big retrospective that played 2 museums, and the New Museum played at the Baltimore Museum. There's 5 art books that I have out of my artwork. So that's a whole other career that I've done very, very separately, and that's telling stories too. That's a whole other thing that I do. I have galleries all over the world, and I still do that too. Yeah.
And Who Makes Museum has artwork from you.
Yes, I know they did show a piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was excited. That museum's great. I went there yesterday. Yeah.